Hey guys, OceanMud here. I decided to do another tutorial video. We did the first video about what happens when you go first and you aren't sure when to pass. What are you supposed to do in that situation in round one? So I went over that, and just a brief recap, we said that you want to use your tactical advantage later in the round from card 6 to 5. I said you don't want to lose on even because then the opponent can bleed you and you have to match them in round 2. And you definitely don't want to go down to 4 cards and not be able to get out of the round up a card, because then the opponent can just pass and then you are down a card round 3. So that's what you would do when you're going first. And when you're going second, you have a lot of opportunities to just punish the opponent by using mind games, by just playing slow. So let's go ahead and take a look at this example that happened earlier today about how I went second and I slow played my opponent. So here's the video here, and we'll just put myself in the top right. And let's go ahead and take a look and see what happened. I'm actually going to show you the entire first round, and I'll go through step by step my thought process. So whenever I do mulligans, the only thing I look for is duplicates. So I don't have more than one Witcher, so I just keep the hand. And it'd be the same if I had, like if I was Nilfgaard and I had Imperial Brigades, I'd get rid of an Imperial Brigade. He played an engine. The Magni division is very strong. I happen to have the Marauder in my hand, so I can safely take care of it. You can see here I'm actually 2 points up on him. We're on 9 cards apiece, and I'm 2 points up. So the opponent's at a slight disadvantage right now. The opponent decides to play the Sergeant, and let's see. It looks like that I'm going to do the Savage Bear, and I'm going to take care of it with the leader ability as well. So now at 8 cards, I'm essentially at tactical advantage because I have 4 points. So he should be very scared right now and potentially thinking about getting out of the round. At least I would have been in his position. He does the Nausicaa Sergeant, and he uses the tactical advantage on it. So at this point, the opponent chose one of 2 lines. One line is to try to play a high power play, such as Witchers, and then tactical advantage, and then gather around the next card. What the opponent did instead was he put his tactical advantage down on an engine and said to himself out loud, he implied that he'll be able to stay in the round to the final card, and that he feels that his sergeant's going to carry him. The issue is that if I have removal, then I essentially took out his tactical advantage and his engine in one card, and now there's no way he'd be able to win. So I play Witchers to thin. One thing to consider with an Emir deck is sometimes they don't mind losing on even, because they can just overpower you with Zoltan and Emir, so they don't mind. So that's might be one of the reasons why he played the tactical advantage early. I decide to thin with, it looks like, Scald and the Skirmisher, and now my opponent is at 6 cards. So he's at 6 cards and I'm up 2 points, and we're uneven. So even cards. So he has to decide here if he wants to get out of the round or if he wants to stay. So he can either do a throwaway card, which it looks like he's doing with the Alba Spearman because it's only 4 points, or if he wants to try to do a high power play and then another high power play and get out. So I have a couple choices here. If you look at the cards, I can play Lacerate, I can play Iris, I can play the Pony, I can play Geralt, and I can play Burna and Delirium. What I decide to do is I actually decide to play Iris. I'm just going to pause it right here. So I had a couple choices here. One of the things you want to consider whenever you're trying to mind game your opponent is you don't want to tell them what's in your hand, or what could even potentially be in your hand. So think if I were to lacerate the back row. If I lacerate the back row, he'll see 2 damaged units. I know I get rid of 1, but he'd see 2. And what he might think is, he might have Wild Boar in his hand, where he wouldn't be considering it if I had only 1 damaged unit on the board. At 2, even though they're just 1s, he might think he might have Wild Boar in his hand. And he might think to himself, well, I can't stay in the round if he has Wild Boar, so I might as well get out of the round. I didn't Geralt because that's 13 points, and that would just be way too many points just to go ahead, because then he'd pass as well with the Wild Boar thought. So I want him to stay in the round. So what I did was I played the slowest play I could possibly play with the Iris, which is just 5 flat points. We can tell he's probably not artifacts because he didn't play any. So there's no reason for me to hold on to the iris regardless. So I go up 2 points on him, and I just hope that he'll play one more card and he'll feel like he can just go above me. And if you remember from my last video, I said that if you do go from 5 cards to 4 and you're going first, you better do a huge play to try to force the opponent out. He does a slave infantry for 9 points. The 5 into the 2 boosted it to 5, and then, or changed into a slave infantry, and then 1 on the sergeant. That's exactly what I was hoping he would do, something, any play at all, and I was able just to match him in points with the Geralt, and this essentially just locks him straight in the round, and he's going to be going losing on even cards, and there's nothing he can do about it. And then I'll pass round 2, and he'll just be going down a card in round 3. So you can see in a situation like this how important it is to set up your rounds properly. When he did the sergeant from 7 cards, he was telling me that he could stay in the round forever. He's not scared at all. That's why you would play the sergeant in that situation. But what he did was he passed at 4 cards. So that means his sergeant turned out to be a 6-point card, which isn't bad, but you can't win a round or you can't get out of a round if a person can overpower you and you play a small engine. So what I believe he should have done was he should have gotten out of the round with Witchers and then tactical advantage. He got 1 more point by playing it after the Witchers after the sergeant, but you could see here how everything just started to unravel, how he wanted to stay in the round, and then I just completely punished him for it. So those are some of the things to keep in mind. Just be wary whenever you're going first and you're going against someone that you think might be slow playing you. Don't think just because they haven't shown you what they have, they don't have the points to overtake you. And if you're going second, don't show the opponent your biggest plays. If you can match them just barely, and you know that if they play 1 card, 2 cards too long, you can just overwhelm them, then just play slow. And you can take out people on pro ladder at the highest level possible, and you can definitely take it out if you're just in rank 14, 15, or wherever you are. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see more of the content I create, then just head on over to my channel, and I'll see you next time.